Good evening. Welcome to our chat on financial aid and college affordability. I'm Allison Tercio, Assistant Vice President for Enrollment and Marketing at Siena, and I have here with me.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen Fenlon. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at Siena.
Before we start, I just want to say to everyone, take a deep breath. We know that college costs and affordability and the whole financial aid process are the thing that you're most stressed out about when it comes to the college search process. But we're here to help you. This is a chat that's us talking to hundreds of people, but we will work with you one-on-one. Even if you don't end up at Siena, you don't have to navigate this alone, okay? Kathleen and her team are here to support you all the way through. So know that if we don't get to your question tonight, or if something comes up you didn't think about later tonight or any time between now and sending your child off to college, we're going to be here for you. All right, let's check in on some questions. Okay, our first question is about the $57,000 scholarship guarantee.
Awesome. So this is a great first question. We get it a lot in our office. The $57,000 guarantee is that if you have applied to Siena and been admitted and have also filed your FAFSA with us, we guarantee that you'll receive at least $57,000 in financial aid over your 4 years here. And that is a combination of merit aid as well as need-based aid based off of your FAFSA. So we really encourage you to get that FAFSA into us so that we can give you that guarantee.
Yeah, I was just working our tours this weekend, actually. So hi to anyone I was able to meet this weekend. And I got this question a lot, and also about when to apply for financial aid. First of all, what I want to talk to you about, because it is related to financial aid, is about applying early. I know that you really have until March to actually apply to Siena, but the reason that I recommend that you take care of it now, so it's a little bit more work now, but it actually gives you breathing room later on. Here's why. If you apply early, say October 15th, then you get your FAFSA in to the financial aid office, you'll actually know if you're admitted to Siena and have your full financial aid package before Christmas. So you have everything that you need on which to base a decision, and also compare all the other colleges information that start coming in. And then the even better part is that we start running admitted student programming in January that you don't want to miss out on. It's a chance to meet your future classmates and maybe even meet roommates. So I really highly recommend take the time now and then give yourself as much time for the decision-making side of things so that you're not in April still stressing out about where am I going to college.
Absolutely. Getting it in early, while it does front load a little bit of the work, it just gives you guys more time to sit down with somebody on my staff, me, go through that financial aid package, make sure that all of your stress about it is alleviated because you get all of your questions answered. We can even walk you through other financial aid packages and kind of help you with the tools to compare and contrast so you get the best return on your investment.
And Kathleen, when would you recommend that they all actually apply for financial aid, and how do they apply for financial aid at Siena?
Absolutely. So the earlier the better. The FAFSA will open actually this week on October 1st. So get that FAFSA into us soon, just like when you're filling out your admissions application. Get it into us. Don't wait. You want to get that in so that we can get you that financial aid package before Christmas. So it's important to apply soon. And then how you would apply for financial aid is through the FAFSA form. So that is the federal form. One thing that we always like to point out about the FAFSA is that it is a free form to fill out. So if you're going to a website and it's asking you to pay to apply, you are at the wrong place. So it is FAFSA, FAFSA.gov. And it is a government site, so make sure it's ending in gov, not .com, so that you're not giving out personal information on the wrong website. So that is all that we need. We don't need the CSS profile. We don't have any secondary financial aid forms. We try to make it as easy as possible for you and your family to fill it out and get your financial aid package.
Yeah, it's hard enough, this whole college process. We don't want to give you extra forms that aren't actually needed for us to be able to give you a financial aid package. And the same goes on the admissions side. We have an express application that takes about 10 minutes. It's really quick and easy. You could do it right after this chat and get your application into Siena, because we want to remove as many barriers as possible, because we want you to also be able to enjoy this time and not just be stressed about the paperwork and everything like that. So get that Express App in. The FAFSA opens this Friday on October 1st. I mean, who doesn't want to spend their Friday evening, make it a happy hour, get your FAFSA done. Why not? Get it done early. We have a question from Camilla. Hi, Camilla. Are SAT test scores required, and do we follow the New York State Excelsior? So we don't require test scores. We actually have been test optional for 7 years now at Siena, so we were way ahead of the game on that. So don't feel like you have to wait for test scores to come in order to send your application in. And instead of the New York State Excelsior, what we offer is the $57,000 guarantee. At a minimum, that's what you're going to get toward your Siena guarantee. And it's not just scholarships, the Siena guarantee, it also includes 4-year graduation. If you don't graduate from Siena in 4 years, because who wants to pay for a 5th or 6th year of college? No one wants that. We will pay for the rest if you don't finish in 4 years. And we also offer a custom career experience. That's part of the guarantee, because we really want to make sure that you're on the right track for the job success that you're looking for. And it's part of the reason that we're the #1 college in New York for getting a job, because we offer this kind of programming to ensure that students get the right experience employers are looking for. Kim is asking, is 401k savings something that colleges are interested in knowing about?
So retirement is not something that needs to go on the FAFSA form. However, on some of those secondary financial aid forms that you may have to fill out for other colleges, they are going to dig in a little bit deeper. That's why we like the FAFSA, because it's easier. You don't have to include retirement on that FAFSA form.
The FAFSA says we need to use our 2019 tax returns. Is that correct, or should it be 2020?
Good question. So you're probably looking at the FAFSA for this current school year that our freshmen, our sophomores that are at Siena right now are in. On Friday, when that October 1st deadline hits, you will be able to fill out the FAFSA for the 2022-2023 school year, which is the year that your student will be a freshman at Siena. So that is the FAFSA that you're looking for. There are 2 FAFSAs out there for a little while, so you do want to make sure that you're not making that mistake in filling out this year's FAFSA. When you get to the 2022-2023 FAFSA, it will ask you for tax year of 2020. So make sure you have those, your W-2s, handy when you're filling out that FAFSA.
And one thing that you should all know is we understand that, especially during this pandemic, people's financial circumstances have changed. So what your tax returns for 2020 say, which is really not full circle for what we've experienced during the pandemic, right? So you'll still use those, but we will work with you one-on-one if you've had changes to your family finances. Regardless of the pandemic, we would do that, but we know that that's something that a lot of people are going through right now. We will work with you one-on-one.
Absolutely. So if you have a situation where you've had job changes since 2020, a job loss, any type of high medical or dental expenses, or any just major change in your family, reach out to our office. Our office's email address, and we'll throw it in the chat too, is aid at Siena, siena.edu. Reach out to us. We'll put you with your financial aid counselor, who will work with you over the next 4 years, and they will start working with you on making that change to your FAFSA to reflect your most current financial situation.
If you don't submit SAT, ACT scores, will you not be considered for merit scholarships? No, there's no reason that you have to submit test scores unless you're applying to our Albany Med program and the HEOP program. You don't have to submit test scores, and there's no bearing on the merit. We will be looking at the other aspects of your application, such as your high school GPA, your course curriculum during high school, your activities, your interest in Siena, to help judge that merit scholarship.
One less stress.
Yeah, exactly. No test scores, and we actually don't even ask you to do an essay. We really want to, like I said, remove those barriers to make it easy to apply, not just to Siena, but also for financial aid. Taryn asks, do you accept the New York State TAP financial aid as well?
Great question. So yes, when you guys fill out your FAFSA, if you are a New York State resident and you've put Siena or another New York State college on your FAFSA, the next thing that's going to pop up once you finish your FAFSA is it's going to then drive you to complete your New York State TAP application. Siena's TAP code is 0685, so you can put us right on that TAP application. We will get it, and we will include it in your financial aid package if you're eligible for it.
Is it easy to add colleges to the FAFSA when they're filling it out?
It is. So you'll have about 10 slots on the FAFSA for those colleges. If you are applying to more than 10 schools, that's totally fine. What you're going to do is you're going to log in, fill out that FAFSA, put your first 10 schools on the FAFSA, submit that FAFSA, give it about 4 to 5 business days to process. What will happen in that time is they will process it and send it out to those schools. From then, you can go back into the FAFSA. You can take those 10 schools off and put your remaining 5 or put your remaining 10 on and go to the end and resubmit it again. It won't take it away from the first 10 schools that you sent it to, so it's pretty easy to do if you are applying to more than 10 schools.
Lori's got a couple questions. How will our student find out about acceptance after doing the quick application, email or regular mail? And Lori, it's like you knew what we do. It's both. So we email you so that you have it right away, but we also have a very special package that we put in the mail to you. So there's something to open physically as well. So we try to have some fun with our acceptance letters. And then Lori also wants to know, do I still complete the FAFSA even if I did it for my son who's already in college?
Another great question. So this is really important. The FAFSA is in your student's name. Yes, it has parent information on it, but the FAFSA is tied to your student. So even if you had triplets going to school next year, you would want to do it 3 FAFSAs, 1 for each student. The parent information will be the same across each of them, but the student information is going to be different. And this actually brings me to a really good point. One of the most common mistakes that we see when we're getting FAFSAs from our students is that parents are helping them fill it out, and when they say, what was your adjusted gross income in 2020? A lot of times parents will then put their income in for the student portion. When the FAFSA says you, it actually is talking about the student. We're lucky, we have a pretty small college, so we really try our best to catch those mistakes. If we see an adjusted gross income that matches the parents, we'll usually reach out and flag it for you, but some colleges won't be able to notice that, and it can really impact your financial aid eligibility. So just make sure you on the FAFSA means the student. If it means parent, it will ask for the parent.
Speaking of financial aid eligibility, should everybody fill out the FAFSA? Is everybody eligible for student aid?
Absolutely. So yes, we really recommend filling out the FAFSA. There's really no reason not to. And that's because of the $57,000 guarantee. You're automatically going to qualify for something when you fill out the FAFSA. At a minimum, it's our $500 scholarship that actually will be $2,000 over the 4 years. So it's definitely worth filling it out. Even if it's just the first year that you fill it out and you don't fill it out again, we absolutely recommend filling it out.
One of the reasons that we started doing the $57,000 guarantee is that we were hearing from families that who are middle-class families saying, but I'm not eligible for aid, but I'm a middle-class family and this is tough for us, but we want to be able to send our child to the college and get the education that they deserve. So we started giving aid even at those income levels that other colleges would consider you not eligible for aid. So everybody does get above their merit scholarship if you file that FAFSA form for Siena. All right, we do have another question about the $57,000 guarantee you get. What about room and board because you have a long commute of 2 hours? Yes, we don't want you to commute if you live 2 hours away. We want you here on campus because that's where all the fun really, really happens. But the $57,000 goes toward your total cost.
Yes.
And again, that's at least. That's the minimum amount you would get over 4 years. Everybody gets more than that. So apply. If you want to get sort of an early estimate, what can they do if they want to get an idea of what they might end up paying?
Yeah, so one thing that we recommend if you really want to know now, you don't want to even wait till Friday to fill out that FAFSA, is you can go onto our website and use the net price calculator. That will give you an estimate of what your financial aid is. But I would really recommend still filling out that FAFSA, especially because so many families have had changes and that those 2020 taxes on the FAFSA this year will show us that. We definitely would still recommend doing the FAFSA, but the net price calculator can give you a good estimate in the meantime.
Timothy's asking about applying for a music scholarship, a performing arts scholarship, if we offer one. Now everybody gets a merit scholarship. We don't do merit based on the major, but it's possible that there's a music scholarship in one of our endowed scholarships.
Yep, so what I would recommend, our endowment scholarships are another great reason to fill out the FAFSA and to fill out that admissions application early. And the reason behind that is we have endowment scholarships that are given to the college. A lot of them are given by alumni and different friends of the college, and they put specific requirements on the scholarship to help us match it with the right student. A lot of times it's something that that donor has done while they were at Siena or is really interested in. One of those interests could be music. We have over 200 endowment scholarships. If your student is looking to apply for an endowment scholarship, we recommend when you guys fill out the FAFSA, email our office just to be considered for any of the endowment scholarships. If your student has a resume, feel free to send that along to us because that will help us match a student with that endowment scholarships. But I will say we have about a little over 200 of them, so they do go fast. So again, another great reason to fill out that admissions application, the FAFSA, and send that email to our office so that we can consider you for any that we have available.
And make sure when you're applying for admission that you're checking that off as an interest so that it alerts us to that's something that you want to do in college. We actually have a question. It's optional on our application, but you might want to answer it, especially in this particular case, and it asks you about what do you want out of your college experience, because we really want to know what you picture for yourself. Talk about how you want to do music in college, and then that will help us connect you to the right endowed scholarships. And music's just the example. There's so many other types of activities
Absolutely.
that we could talk about. Can you please repeat what you need at hand when you fill out the FAFSA?
Great question. The first thing that you're going to want to do, even probably before you sit down to do the FAFSA, is you're going to want to have an FSA ID created for both the parent and the student. If you go to that FAFSA website that I mentioned, and we'll put it in the chat too, you can create that FSA ID. If you want to fill out that FAFSA on Friday, I would actually recommend when you log off the chat with us to go in and start creating those 2 FSA IDs. Just the parent that's on the FAFSA needs to fill one out. You don't need one for both parents, although you can if you want to, but only one parent needs to actually sign the FAFSA. And then your student will also need one. So make sure you do that first. That's an important thing. That's going to take about at most 72 hours for that to be generated. And then when you log in to do your FAFSA, we really recommend having a copy of both your 2020 taxes, W-2s, and any account information that you have. So cash, savings, assets are important to have with you when you fill those out. One of the great things about the FAFSA in recent years is that it has an IRS data retrieval tool. So that may help eliminate the need for those taxes and W-2s a little bit if you're eligible to use them, but I would keep them on hand. We recommend using the IRS data retrieval tool because it's going to make your life easier, and it will hopefully ensure that everything on there is accurate. It will actually, when you use it, pull in the information from the IRS from when you filed your taxes and place it on the FAFSA for you. So while there's about a little over 100 questions on the FAFSA, doing that will save a lot of time.
Yeah, no reason not to do that.
Exactly.
Ooh, I would do that. All right, we're getting a few more questions about the FAFSA. Do you need to know all the colleges you want to apply to at the time of submission? No, right?
Absolutely, no, not at all.
You
Just
can
like,
add them as you go.
Yep, just like I said before, you can always go back into your FAFSA and add schools. You just want to make sure that once you submit it once, you give about 4 or 5 business days for it to process, for it to get to those schools. Then you can go back in, put in as many new schools as you want to. You can submit only Siena on Friday when that FAFSA opens, and then if you want to add schools in a month as you start applying to a few more, you can feel free to do that.
We've got a question here about how does the FAFSA work in terms of denying or accepting because they already applied to Siena. So it's totally 2 separate processes. Your application for admission is not at all dependent on whether or not you have filled out the FAFSA. The reason we want you to do the financial aid side of things soon after is so that you can get your admittance letter and get your entire financial aid package and really have an understanding of what your cost to attend Siena would be early on, to give you lots of breathing room to figure out the right decision and be able to compare your different financial aid packages. So that's the real advantage, but we don't cross over. So we don't consider your finances or your application for financial aid when we review. review you for admission.
Correct. They're completely separate. My team looks at your FAFSA. Our admissions team looks for the merit aid through your admissions application. So very different. We just recommend them together really for your benefit so that it just gives you more time to come visit, meet with an admissions counselor, sit down with one of us on the financial aid team, and get every question that you have answered on, such a big decision in your life.
Yeah. And I'm seeing another related question. Do you have to apply to the college before you list it on the FAFSA? No, you don't have to. It'll be there when you've applied and get admitted. So it's fine to do it reverse order. But like we're trying to tell you, we're really trying to sell you on the early application, not for our benefit, but for your benefit. We want you to have that time and that space to be able to make the right decision. So that's why we try to remove as many barriers as we can and get you the information as early as we can. So the earlier you do all of your side of things, the earlier we can get back to you.
Absolutely. Some of the greatest conversations that we have with families and the times that families feel the least stress is when they get that financial aid package in December before Christmas. They might call our office, we'll answer some of their general questions. And then once they have all their financial aid packages from other schools in February or March, they'll come for a visit and sit down with us and we can kind of walk them through everything again. And we remember them from December. And that's one of the best things about being paired with one of our financial aid counselors for 4 years is they'll really know your story. You'll start to develop that relationship with them and they'll make sure that you're as low stress as possible throughout this process.
Yeah, that's our goal. This is hard enough. We want you to enjoy it somewhat because this is a fun journey of discovery and sort of finding that right place for you. Even if you don't end up here, we want to help you find the right place. It doesn't do anyone any good if a student chooses a college that's a misfit for them. They need to find where they're going to thrive. So we're really here as a resource all the way along the way. Cost, we know, is a big factor in that. Ask a quick question about, does my child's unemployment money get put on the FAFSA, even though he didn't submit taxes yet for 2021? So I think it's two questions. There wasn't unemployment in 2020, so no, you're not going to have to put that on because it's all based on 2020, not 2021.
Correct.
But if you happen to have a student who was getting unemployment in 2020, the year that's being used for FAFSA, is that something that they would put on there?
Yes, so they would, and if you want to contact our office, we can walk you through that process just to make sure it goes on the right line and that you don't have any other questions about it. And again, if there's not receiving that unemployment anymore, if that was a one-time thing in 2020, I would actually reach out to our office. You'll want to file it correctly and with the 2020 information, but that's something that we can actually take off of your FAFSA and move around to put it somewhere that's correct. If it's not something that's ongoing, if it's still happening, that's totally fine. But if they've since found a job or they're no longer receiving it, we can work with you to make that change because as we said in the beginning, 2020 was a weird year for a lot of people, and we recognize that. We've been working with families over the past 2 years really closely just to make sure that the FAFSA is as accurate as it possibly can be for today, even though it uses 2 years prior tax information.
Great. I see a couple questions, and I knew we were going to get these questions because we always do. How does the whole filing for financial aid thing work for blended families?
Yes.
So when the parents might be divorced, what do they do?
Absolutely. So when a family is in a divorce or separation situation, only the parent that the student spends more than 50% of their time with has to be on the FAFSA. If that parent is remarried, they would also include the new spouse as well. But in a divorce situation, if the child is living with dad and dad is remarried, it would be dad and his spouse at that time, and mom would not be included on it at all. So that's kind of how we do things. A lot of times we get the question, we split time perfectly equally. We say there's 7 days in the week. There's going to be something where they're a little bit more with one parent than the other, and that's the parent that would go on the FAFSA.
Exactly. I have a question from Sydney. If English is my second language, do I have to submit something else? No, actually the FAFSA is available in English and Spanish. If it's a different language that you're talking about other than Spanish, we'd be happy to try to work something out with you. So please email our office. We might be able to connect to a translator that can help you do this. We're here to help. Please reach out. Don't hesitate. Don't go it alone if you're struggling with the language. It is some really financial and heavy language a little bit to it. So we want to make sure everyone understands what they're being asked on it so that it can be accurate, and we're willing to help you with that.
And And if we have any students that are international students, we do have a financial aid process for you, even though you're not able to fill out the FAFSA. We do use a separate form for that. So feel free to touch base with our office and we can walk you through that process to get you moving on that too.
No, I know I had a couple questions this weekend I want to bring out. I'm not seeing them in here right now, but I know that we get them. How about monthly payment plans? How do our families manage actually paying for the costs, the bottom line that they need to?
Absolutely. So monthly payment plans are definitely available. You can break up one semester's payment anywhere from 2 months, 3 months, up to 6 months. And basically there's no interest associated with it, which is really nice. There's a small application fee, it's $35, and that will allow you to make monthly payments. There's also a lot of other financing options out there too. One that we see a lot is the Federal Parent Plus loan. That loan is a little bit more accessible, especially for families that may be a little bit worried about receiving, for instance, a private education loan, which is another financing option. The Parent Plus loan, when you're applying for it, while they don't run a debt to income ratio, they really just look at your last 90 days of bills on your credit score. And if you are up to date with those last 90 days, you're typically approved for that loan. So it's more accessible to a lot of families. And then there are also private education loans, and those are through banks, lenders. We have a list on our website that we always recommend to families to kind of get you started in shopping around a little bit in terms of what your payment options are. And we're happy to go over those with you. So always feel free to give us a call when you get to that stage and we can walk you through the process.
I was actually just talking to a first year student about that last week, and she shopped almost all of the ones on the website. There's no commitment to it. They'll just give you what your interest rate would be. They give you a good estimate of what you're looking at. And so she really did all of them and then picked the best one for her. So don't be scared to sort of shop around and find the right one for you. Let's see. Oh, we're going back really quick. Someone's saying, did you say we can go in and create the ID before Friday?
You can, yep. So that FSA ID is tied to your social security number, so you definitely can do that before Friday. So if you're somebody that wants to get that FAFSA done on October 1st, you can go in and do that FSA ID now. The other thing that you can always do is if you get to Friday and you forgot to do the FSA ID, you can fill out that FAFSA and then you'll just have to go back in and sign it once you have the FSA ID.
Yeah. We were just talking about loans, the Parent Plus loan. It made me think about student loans. I know there's a lot of hesitancy about taking out a student loan. No one wants to graduate with a ton of student loan debt. We understand that. What do you advise families when it comes to student loans?
Absolutely. So, again, we really recommend shopping around, especially that first year, kind of as we talked about. And as I said, we're happy to help you kind of shop, give you the tools to kind of do your own shopping around as well. And we can talk you through that. But one of the great things that we really often recommend to families as they're looking at everything is really looking at the value and that return on investment at a college. You're going to want to look at sites like our College Navigator site and really kind of compare and contrast different rates when it comes to schools. So for instance, one of the things that we really recommend looking at is the retention rate. And that tells us how many of our students have come here, really enjoyed it, and have stayed. So you want to look at schools that have a really high retention rate. And four-year graduation rate is also even more important because while you're looking at 4 years of cost, no family budgets for that 5th year or that extra semester. So if that 4-year graduation rate at a college is low, you really want to figure out why and ask those questions, because that while it may look great on paper in terms of cost, you may end up paying for that extra semester or that extra year. And it's not always the fault of the student. A lot of times it's that they didn't have the academic advising in place. So those are some things that we really recommend looking once you get down to the return on investment decision.
It's one of the reasons we can guarantee that you'll graduate in 4 years or we will pay the rest is because it's really hard to fall through the cracks here. We make sure the courses are available that you need to take to graduate in time. In fact, we have some tracks where you can earn your bachelor's degree and your master's degree in 4 years. We also have a law school program where you go to Siena for 3 years and law school for 2 years. So you can do these programs in an accelerated way, and it does save you money. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out when you're applying on the application and check off that you're interested in those programs so that we can review you for them. Is there a loan that you can pay off when you graduate? Well, all of the loans happen after you graduate,
so
when you start paying.
Any of the federal loans that we award you through your financial aid package, because every freshman is eligible for $5,500 just by filling out the FAFSA in a Stafford loan. So those, the subsidized Stafford loan actually doesn't even start accruing interest until after you graduate. And even with the unsub, both of them, you won't have to start making payments on until 6 months after you graduate, with the idea that you're going to have a great job by then and be able to start making those payments. But a lot of the private education loans, the Parent Plus loan has the option to defer. When you fill out the application, you'll choose that option if you want to. But a lot of the private education loans also have that option where you can wait until after you graduate, once you start working, and then start making those monthly payments on the loans.
I know sometimes parents and students like to work on paying the interest in the meantime so that doesn't build up, and then they start making bigger monthly payments after graduation. So that's a way to do it as well. We are already at 7:30, so we have just a couple really quick questions that we'll get to. And as I said at the beginning of the chat, reach out to us anytime. This is not a one-time thing. If we didn't get to your question, we'll never answer it. All you have to do is email us or call us, and we're going to work with you one-on-one with your particular situation. So really quick, are you looking at first quarter senior year as well? So if you apply right now, your first quarter grades for senior year are not yet available, so we'll just be looking at the junior year. However, if we think that we need to look at more, then we'll shoot you an email and we'll say, please send us your first quarter grades. But as of right now, we'd be looking at freshman, sophomore, and junior year of high school. And then a couple questions about the 529. How do you send money monthly or one time from the 529, and how is 529 factored into the FAFSA and merit scholarships? Well, it's not factored into merit scholarships. The only thing that's factored into merit scholarships is your high school performance.
Yep. So the 529 is included on the FAFSA, but the positive is that even if it's in the student's name, they usually count it under the parent's assets if it's in the parent's name as the contributor. So what's great about that is it counts less towards that FAFSA number that we get. So you do have to include it. But one great thing about the 529 is typically what they'll need to send payment is some of them will just need a tuition statement or proof that they're enrolled, and they'll be able to send the payment directly to Siena.
All right, that's all the time we have tonight. We know your time is valuable too, so we could talk all night about financial, or Kathleen could talk all night about financial aid, but we'll close it here. Please reach out to us if you have any other questions. We're here to help from now until forever, really. You can use us as a resource. Now you know us, so you can email us and reach out anytime. Next steps for all of you: apply to Siena. Express app would take you 10 minutes. You could do it tonight. That'd be great. We'll keep an eye out for your applications. On Friday, the free application for student aid opens for the 2022-2023 school year. So you can start filing as of Friday. And I hope that you'll all be able to come visit our campus this fall. We have lots of opening slots. We're open 7 days a week, including holidays like Columbus Day and Veterans Day if you happen to be off of school on those holidays. We'd love to see you. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next Tuesday for another chat.